Hello and welcome. It's the Curious Pigeon here, and today we are taking a look at what happened to the black hole at Alton Towers. So I hope you enjoy. Now, the ride opened in 1983 and it closed in 2005, having become costly to maintain. It replaced Dinosaur Land. Now, I did read that some of the Dinosaur Land dinosaurs became some theming placed in the wooded area of what was at the time called the log flume, which had little to no theming before it became the flume anyway. So I've no idea what happened to the dinosaurs after that, though. The ride was made by Anton Schwarzkopf, and the track car, the theming, and the name had many different changes over the years. I think at one point it was called something like the New Black Hole. And the roller coaster was eventually sold in 2007, but the tent remained unused for many, many years. And at one point was even used for a couple of scare mazes, which is a great use of this tent. And the tent was eventually dismantled in 2012. And as we know, this location, having been Dinosaur Land and then Black Hole, then became the Smiler. Now, I just thought we would have a little look at this POV. It's not the best quality because it's quite old and it does have very little to sort of look at in a way, but this is a POV with the lights on. Now, I did read that at one point they added lights to this spiral lift hill, and this was just to create, I don't know, some kind of sense of sort of where you were. But the ride itself, bearing in mind how dark this footage is, the ride was even darker than this, and there's only so much you can see here, so you can see you're starting to go on the spiral lift hill there. So this ride, it's not one I ever went on myself, but it just looks like, albeit a slightly short layout, it just looks a really, really fun ride to go on. You know, the spiral lift hill, I feel like limited my coaster knowledge is to some extent. I've not seen or heard of a lot of spiral lift hills. And it just looks like a fun little ride, really. And rest in peace to the indoor coaster at Alton Towers. When we will ever get an update on Project Horizon, I don't know. I, for one, can't wait for it, however. And here you can see your lots of helixes. But yeah, this is quite a fun little ride. But we know that its life didn't end once it left Alton Towers. So it actually went to a zoo in Sweden called Furuvik Zoo. I've probably butchered that pronunciation. And it went there and reopened in Sweden in 2011. And it was renovated by Gerstlauer and it became known as Rocket. So we will just take a little look at that now. So here is Google Earth. We've got Furuvik Zoo here, or Furuviksparken. And this is it. This is the rocket. So you can see there's very bright red and blue theming. I actually really like the theming on this. I really, really do. You can see it's sat near a Zamperla disco, just over here. And you can see that this zoo has got a selection of different rides and a couple of different coasters. I must admit, I thought it was that at first. So these are shots from the early 2020s. It says this is 2021. And we can have a look at it a little bit closer on Street View as well. Now, this roller coaster is no longer here. It has been replaced by something called Lightning. But here we are. It's crazy to think that this was the black hole and that this was Alton Towers. It just looks so different. I mean, it is the same track. I'm not quite sure what renovations Gerstlauer actually did before this opened at Furuvik Zoo, but regardless, I just think it's a really, really nice colour scheme. And again, not the longest layout in the world, but I really like how it sort of fits together again. Very nice and compact. So for somewhere like this zoo that maybe doesn't have the biggest footprint for a coaster, it works really well. And I never went on it when it was at Furuvik Zoo. I never went on it at Alton Towers. Maybe there's someone out there that did try it in both locations. But what's your guys' opinions? Do you think this would have been better in a tent and as a dark indoor coaster, or do you think it works just as well or better outside? Let's see if we can view it a little further down. I mean, it had a very nice location at this zoo, I'll give it that. So here we are. Even the street lamp's red, but that might just be a coincidence. So nice little station. Got a nice little sign there. Let's see if we can zoom in on that. Rocket, there we go. So yeah, just a nice little bright fun ride really. So I hadn't planned on using this footage, but this is from Alton Towers memories.net, and this is just a bit of a look at the black hole after it was dismantled. Again, it's a little bit grainy and old, so not the best quality, but it gets you a nice little look inside the tent. So the roller coaster had all been demolished at this point, and you can tell it definitely has seen much better days. So here you can see inside just a really dark, desolate space. Perfect for scare mazes when they did have a couple in here. Really, really good. So again, the coaster itself, when you look at it as a coaster, it looks really, really compact, which it is. It's not the biggest coaster, it's not the longest coaster, but when you look at the tent itself, the tent looks absolutely huge without the coaster in it. Also, a side note, I wish Alton Towers did more of these kind of behind the scenes events. I feel like they don't really seem to do much of them anymore. I know we've got the track walks and we've got that kind of thing and a couple of the special events that are put on, but this is the stuff that we want to see, or at least I want to see. So as you can see, this ride was advertised by amusementrides.com, and it was a Jetstar 2 model by Schwarzkopf, as we know already. And here is a picture of it as the rocket. And you can see one train held 6 people, so not the biggest capacity per train. And I did read that there were 4 trains. Yeah, you can see it down here. The track was 585 meters, or 1,919 feet. And surely a big selling point of a coaster like this, if we scroll back up to see the image, is that it requires no foundations. It reminds me a little of the corkscrew, the way that didn't have any like proper foundations or footings. This was similar to me, and surely this would be a real selling point. Now, I accessed this document obviously today, and I accessed it a couple of days ago. So I'm filming this in September, end of September 2024, and this documentation, I mean, I downloaded it as a PDF, but you can also still access it on the website as a web page. So if that is available and it's not been taken off, is that either sloppy website management, or is that it's still for sale 3 years on? This is the thing that I was trying to find out, and I could not find whether it was or wasn't for sale. It says that more information was available upon inquiry, and it would have cost you 400,000 euros. I've got no idea what seasonal sale means, though. If anyone knows what that means, please let me know, because I'm stumped on that one. And whilst I personally feel like a roller coaster needing no foundations would be a great selling point for the coaster, perhaps people are put off by capacity. It's 450 people per hour. Maybe that is something that they aren't a fan of. Maybe they want something better, bigger. You know, each train can fit more people at a time. And it said it was available immediately. But yes, I tried to find out what happened to this thing, because the idea that it's still sat for sale somewhere, whilst it could give us some hope that it could reappear at another attraction, and the idea that potentially they could have given up trying to sell it, maybe it's been scrapped, that's an upsetting one. Because I don't think there's anything wrong with it. They wouldn't try to sell it saying, you know, it's got all these great attributes and it's available immediately, if they would just go, it's not selling, scrap it. Or would they? How ruthless are they in the roller coaster world? You tell me. Now, I did find some records on Roller Coaster Database. So this lists all of the Jetstar 2 models. You can see that technically that same coaster is listed twice. You have it listed as the Black Hole, and it does indeed say that it was relocated, but then you also have it listed as Rocket at Furuvik. So I find it interesting that technically it's been listed twice because it has that history to that one coaster, but it is still the same coaster. I don't know why that kind of, I don't know, I like that they've done that. In my mind I'm thinking, is it the same coaster? Isn't it? Anyway. And you can see a nice little list of everywhere else. Super Big Gulp. Never heard of that before. Now, the one thing that I wanted to mention, going back to the statuses, is that the Black Hole says it relocated, which is correct. You can see some of the others say operating. Apparently, this one, I'm not even going to try and pronounce it, is SBNO, or this park name rather. Another one that's operating. Rocket, however, it says that it opened on the 21st of May 2011, but it doesn't give any status. So it doesn't say anything at all. And I don't know why. So that makes me wonder what has happened to it. Is it literally just sitting waiting for a new home? Is that why there's no update? Who knows? And when you go onto the roller coaster database page, there's actually some really great images, including this. So the colour of the original tent was green and yellow stripes, and you had this red fence, and then this sort of weird black entrance. I don't know, because quite a mishmash, and none of it goes together. So I do definitely prefer the refurb that they did. But yeah, I just think that is. I mean, I'm not saying I don't like the colour, but I just think it doesn't quite work. How amazing does that station look? I read that it was kind of a Jules Verne-esque space theming, but looking at this colour here and looking at the sort of edging and the bolts, that just makes me think of a grand day out on Wallace and Gromit. But I suppose Blackpool Pleasure Beach have already beat them to it with a Wallace and Gromit ride. But yeah, I just think that it looks so cool. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. I mean, really nice, again, really nice theming, almost slightly Toyland Tours-esque with some of this sort of shaping here and the borders there. But yeah, what a great coaster. And who knows what has happened. If anyone knows of any updates regarding this coaster, please let me know, because I'm so intrigued to know if it has got a, well, third life. Do you reckon it would reopen somewhere else as the Rocket? Do you reckon they would give up after however many years and just sell it and get rid of it? But yeah. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.